Have you ever stared at a stock chart with all those lines and bars and just wondered, how do traders even begin to guess what's coming next? Well, it's not a crystal ball. They're actually reading a story, one told entirely through data. And today, we're going to learn the language of that story by cracking open a real technical analysis report for AMD. So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover what technical analysis even is. Then we'll jump into what AMD's price has been doing lately. After that, we'll try to decode the trend, figure out how much power is behind the stock's moves, and finally, see how it all gets boiled down into one single score.
All right, first things first, what is this whole art of reading charts thing anyway? Well, at its heart, it's all about studying the past to make a more educated guess about the future.
Now, the key thing to get here is that we're not talking about whether AMD is a good company, with great products or solid earnings. No. Technical analysis ignores all of that. It's purely about the price and how many people are trading it. Think of it like the dashboard in your car. It doesn't tell you where you're going to end up, but it tells you your speed, your RPMs, your engine temp, all critical info about the journey right now. And that's exactly what we're about to do for AMD. Okay, enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty and start with the most basic question you can ask. What has AMD's stock actually been doing?
So, looking back over the last 3 months, AMD has been on a bit of a roller coaster. I mean, it hit this huge peak back in October, only to pull back pretty hard in November. December was just choppy, kind of all over the place. But then, as we rolled into the new year, things started to look up. You can see it started to recover. So that's the big picture.
And now we're zooming in. We're going from that 3-month bird's eye view right down to the last week of trading. You can see the price was just kind of hovering around that $215 mark, and then bam! Look at that last day, a really strong push higher. That's that recovery we were just talking about, but now we're seeing it happen up close.
So we see that recent pop in price, but what's the bigger picture? What's the overall direction here? Is this just a one-day fluke, or is it part of a real shift? To figure that out, we have to look at trend indicators. And one of the most popular ways to do that is with moving averages. All these really do is smooth out all the chaotic day-to-day price swings, so we can see the underlying trend a little more clearly. They help us answer that one simple question: which way is the wind blowing? Okay, here is our starting point. $223.47. Remember this number. Everything else we look at is going to be compared back to this. First up, let's compare it to the average price over the last 20 trading days, so about a month. The current price of $223 is definitely above that average. And in the world of technical analysis, that's a check in the plus column. It suggests that in the short term, the buyers are in control. And this is where it gets really interesting. When we zoom out a bit to the 50-day average, a more medium-term trend, the current price is still below it. So think of this number like a ceiling. It's an area of what traders call resistance. This is a super important level to watch. If the price can break through it, that could be a really strong sign. But if it gets rejected here, it might fall back down.
Okay, so we know the trend is showing some positive signs, but it's also facing a test. The next question is, how much power is behind this recent move? Is it a really strong push, or is it kind of running out of gas? For that, we turn to momentum indicators.
And probably the most famous momentum tool out there is the Relative Strength Index, or RSI. All it does is tell us if a stock might be overbought, meaning it's gone up way too fast, way too soon. That's usually a reading over 70. Or on the flip side, it tells us if it's oversold, which is typically below 30. So AMD's current RSI reading comes in at 56.38. Okay, what on earth does that number actually mean? Well, it tells a pretty clear story. It's above 50, which is the neutral line, so that tells us the momentum is positive. That confirms the buying pressure we've been seeing. But, and this is crucial, it's not in that extreme overbought danger zone yet. This suggests the move has strength, but there could still be more room for it to run before it gets overheated. Now, let's get a second opinion from another tool, the MACD histogram. Now, don't let the name scare you. The idea behind it is actually really simple. When the bars on this chart are positive and getting bigger, it suggests that bullish momentum, that buying pressure, is actually accelerating. And, according to this report, AMD's MACD histogram is currently positive, sitting at 1.57. And this really just hammers the point home. This positive number confirms what we saw with the RSI and with the price action itself. It's another piece of the puzzle telling us that this recent recovery seems to have some real oomph behind it. All right, so we've looked at price, we've looked at the trend, we've looked at momentum. A full report like this one actually analyzes dozens of these different indicators. It then crunches all that data together to give us one simple final score.
And after all of that analysis, the final technical score for AMD comes out to 58.51. So here's the bottom line. On this scale, the magic number is 50. Anything above 50 is considered to be on the positive or bullish side of things. So this score is basically a summary of all the evidence we've just talked about and a whole lot more. It's not a prediction, it's not a guarantee, but it is a snapshot of the stock's technical health at this very moment. And that's really what this is all about. We've seen how all these different data points and indicators come together to paint a picture, a story of a stock's recent behavior. This data tells us a story of the past and the present. But the billion-dollar question, as always, is what story will it tell tomorrow? The cool thing is, now you have a few more tools to start reading it for yourself.